4. The landing party. It's all his fault, Bobby said. Why is it his fault? Elaine demanded. You push the buttons. He's right, you know, Dodie said. It was my idea. He'd wanted to show them how much he knew. And instead he'd shown that he could be as reckless as a small boy. Elaine felt too sick to be angry. They were weightless in the landing craft as they hurtled toward Planet 5. She was feeling as green as she would on a roller coaster or a bobbing boat at sea. Bobby, on the other hand, was celebrating the freedom from gravity by turning somersaults in midair. You can turn us around, Elaine said. I don't know how, said Dodie, who sat at the control panel turning through an operations manual that would have taken him a week to read. But she said you could land us, Elaine said. It's all automatic, once we're launched, Dodie said. Mickey finds the beacon and flies us down. Anyone could land us on automatic. Getting back, I'm not so sure about. Elaine was too queasy to protest. Instead, she sat as still as she could, twisting a curl of hair that hung in front of an ear. It made her sick just to watch Bobby, who cavorted and tumbled through the air, so she tried not to look at him. Her face was as colorless and puffy as bread dough. Even her freckles had faded. Tell us about time again, Dodie, she asked gently. Dodie riffled the pages of the manual. There was a way to turn off the automatic pilot and take control of the lander if he had the right computer code. But Mickey, who still thought of Dodie as 9 years old, would never let him do it. If Captain Ramsey had been on board, he, of course, could have changed course or even ordered the lander to return to its bay on the Wanderer. So could any of a dozen adult crew members with the authority to override Mickey. But none of the Ramsey children, including Dodie, had the power to do so. At first, after their unexpected launch, Dodie was sure that their father would find a way to call them back to the Wanderer. But they had not heard from Captain Ramsey at all. Maybe there was another glitch in Mickey's program, Dodie thought, or maybe some crucial piece of equipment had failed. Whatever the problem, they were racing ahead toward an alien and perhaps hostile world, driven by a computer that had already made too many mistakes and could certainly make many more. Would they land softly as they were supposed to, Dodie wondered, or would their craft slam into the surface of the planet like a bullet? Dodie had tried hard not to say anything that would frighten his brother and sister, which wasn't easy because he'd become accustomed to thinking aloud. All the while his silent, inner voice was talking to his parents. Oh, please rescue us, it said. Mom. Dad. Please. He blew his nose loudly into the bandana that he'd taken from his neck, and then he wadded the rag up and stuffed it into one of his pockets in his coveralls. The viewing screen was filled with the strange geography of Planet 5. Through thin, swirling clouds, Dodie could make out a blue sea in the middle of what appeared to be a desert of reddish sand. The great green arms of the giant X that hugged the globe turned more fully into view. They seemed to be trying to squeeze the life out of the planet, Dodie thought. He tried one last time to convince Mickey to change course and send them back to the spaceship Wanderer. But Mickey reminded him, landing craft course correction is outside your jurisdiction, Dodie. Perhaps it was Dodie's imagination, but Mickey sounded as if he were a little sad to have to say it, as if he felt sorry for them, but that there was nothing he could do. When Dodie continued to type program changes into the computer terminal, however, Mickey changed his tune, warning ominously, if you persist in trying to tamper with the landing program, Dodie, I will have no choice but to terminate all communication. Angrily Dodie depressed the Z on the keyboard and held it down until the computer screen filled with Z's before turning dark. Is Mickey getting in a few Z's? Bobby asked. He gave an exaggerated yawn as he settled down into his chair again. Well, I'm pretty sleepy myself. Please, Dodie, Elaine said. Her face was white now, as white as flour, as white as clown makeup, as white as a refrigerator door. There's nothing else you can do. Please tell us about time. The youngest of the three Ramseys, or oldest, depending on your point of view, ran his hand through his long, gray hair. Maybe Elaine was right, Dodie thought. It might be best to pass the time in idle conversation rather than worry about events he could not control. Time, he said, sniffling as he wondered where he ought to begin. There are all sorts of time. I know, said Bobby. There's snack time, lunchtime and dinner time, not to mention breakfast time, supper time and high tea. You can't be hungry again," said Elaine. The thought of food made her feel even queasier. "What time is it back home, Dodie?" asked Bobby, who was suddenly more serious. 3,000 years or so after launch, he said after calculating the numbers on his fingers. "About 5000 AD, Earth time, I would guess," Dodie said. "I could get Mickey to give us a more exact date, but I'm tired of talking to him." "Isn't that real time?" Elaine asked. "If we never left home, wouldn't we be living in 5000 AD? In 5000 AD, we'd be deader than doornails," Bobby said. "I'm not sure I know what's real time." Dodie leaned back in his reclining chair. They'd given him a chance to show how much he knew, and he would have to show them that he knew quite a lot. When you rush through space at nearly the speed of light, time for you is very different from what it is on Earth. Einstein figured that out. And then Hoffman finally calculated it out more exactly. The clocks on Earth are turning much faster than the clocks on board the ship. The clocks we have with us record the way we feel time on the Wanderer, not what we'd feel if we stayed on Earth. "Where time flies," Bobby interjected. "Time seems slower when we're moving away from Earth as fast," Dodie said. "Aboard the Wanderer, our atomic clocks show the passage of 107 years. On Earth, the same sort of clocks would show 3000 or so." "Still, I don't look a day older than when I left," Elaine said. "That's because you've been protected from time. You've been in a biological deep freeze," Dodie said a bit sadly. "Like a frozen mackerel," Bobby observed. "But she got unfrozen, Dodie. That's why you're so different now." "I'm not so different," Dodie said. "Sure you are. You're bigger. And hairier. And droopier. Even if you still do act like a little kid a lot of the time." "I do not," Dodie said, remembering now how angry he used to get at Bobby when he picked on him. "Tell us about Hoffman," said Elaine, changing the subject. "You know everything there is to know about him. Tell us about him, Dodie. Please." "He's the greatest genius of his age," said Dodie, "greater than even Einstein." He loved to talk about Hoffman. "Hoffman," he repeated as if the very name was musical. His cold was forgotten. He'd even forgotten, for a moment, where the landing craft was heading. "He must have been a dreadful man," Elaine said. "What do you mean dreadful?" Dodie was puzzled. "Just because he discovered the truth about the sun?" "The Hoffman factor," Elaine yawned. Just as she had expected, the talk had begun to relax her. "Isn't it true that if it wasn't for the Hoffman factor, we wouldn't be here at all?" "What is the Hoffman factor, anyway?" "I knew all about it once, but I kind of forgot." "It's a fact about the universe, not dreadful or nice, just true," Dodie said. "Hoffman was the first to measure the effect of gravity on time. And he figured out that the sun would survive only a few million years more, not billions more like most scientists expected. The fact that launched 1,000 ships," Elaine recited from a poem that every school kid was supposed to know. "A horrible man,"